Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 10 of Drive with Hollie McRae. Today's episode is something a little bit different because we're not only going to be talking about a person within motorsport, but our conversation today is going to be focused all around the magnificent East African Safari Classic Rally. I am joined with Andy Gilmore. It is a pleasure to have you on the sofa today.
Hi Holly, thank you for having me here.
Now, you might be able to tell that Andy's made a little bit of a trek over to film this podcast. How was your travels over from Ireland?
For once it all went pretty straightforward. Early morning start around 4 a.m, but yeah, the flight, old EasyJet went on time, so yeah, all good.
Now, for those of you that are listening that are new to the East African Safari Classic Rally and all things rallying on the African continent, Andy is taking on a mammoth task this year in becoming clerk of the course for this fantastic event. And it's something that we're going to dig into and just share the excitement of this event and the ways in which Andy's going to bring it forward. So I guess the best place to start is, how would you summarise the East African Safari Rally?
I would summarise it, Holly, as very, very unique. It's, to the best of my knowledge, probably the longest stage rally in the world. It's certainly one of them. It's 9 days long for a start.
Incredible.
The crews rally for 4 days, then they have a well-earned rest day, and then they go again for another 4 days. So it's from that perspective, it's really unique. A World Championship rally today averages 300 kilometres for the whole rally. These crews do an average 300 kilometres per day. So it's eight WRC events in the space of 9 days, one after the other. So yeah, I would summarise it as probably one of the biggest rallying challenges there is today available. So
an epic undertaking.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people that do the event pride themselves on rallying an event from the 70s, 80s, 90s. It's definitely got that sort of legend surrounding it.
Yeah. And
the East African Safari Classic Rally, as it is at the moment, started in the early 2000s, is that right?
The first one was 2003, yeah. And
the goal of the rally, when it did begin in that format, was to sort of pay homage to the Safari Rally of the past.
It was, yeah. The WRC stopped going to East Africa around that time, and it had become more sanitized, probably isn't the right word, more compact and much shorter than the original Safari rallies. But like a lot of rallies, they've shrunk in nature, they've shrunk in size and all of that, and the people who started the classic rally wanted to go back to the roots of making it a long endurance event. I think they did more than that. The original Safari Rally was only ever 5 days long, but the distances that they wanted to cover, they spread it out over 9 days, and that in itself has built, for me, there's as much fascination now around the classic rally as there was around probably the original Safari Rally itself, because of the test of endurance that is there.
It's definitely the Safari Rally as a whole, or rallying in that region of Africa, has gone through so many changes. Now, in my preparation for this podcast, I went on a bit of a deep dive. I love my research. I love really digging my teeth into something and finding out what I can about it. And a little history lesson for those of you that maybe don't know, the Safari Rally was first run in 1953. Like, when you think about the things that have happened since then, it's gone through decades, through so many global events, and the event in itself has changed so many times throughout that. Yeah. It wasn't until the 70s that it became part of the World Rally Championship, and it went through a couple of changes during those times. And then when it was withdrawn from the WRC, that's when the event as it now is sort of came into its own. But as you say, it's not the sort of regular modern machinery that you see taking on these stages. Talk to us about the cars that take part.
The cars in the main classic rally are up to 1986, in terms of when previously homologated cars up to 1986. But I think, in fairness, given the age of a lot of those cars today, they've had to be seriously strengthened and beefed up, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But again, all in a controlled way. There are a lot of waivers that exist to allow the competitors to strengthen their cars, where they need to be strengthened, but whilst maintaining the spirit of the original designs and all of that. There's reasonably strict parameters in terms of what can be done and what can't be done. But yeah, the cars they're phenomenal what they can do,
mm-hmm.
and the abuse that they can take and still get through. But in those days as well, I think cars were perhaps simpler,
mm-hmm.
hadn't so many electronics and all this sort of stuff to go wrong, which you need a degree in electronics and software to resolve. So yeah, it's the cars are as timeless and as classic as the rally itself, and there's teams there like Tuthill Motorsport, and these guys have spent so much time and effort developing and strengthening the cars to survive
mm-hmm.
the challenge. And if you think back, even in the WRC days, Toyota would have spent months in Africa testing to strengthen the cars to make sure they survived. So yeah,
I suppose it really is a nod to the past in the sense of seeing these sorts of cars rallying on that terrain, because from the Safari Rally's very early days, manufacturers from all around the world did really want to take part, because it was a test of reliability, a test of endurance, a test of what their cars could do. It was a great way to publicise their machinery to the world.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the sort of beating that these cars could take. What sorts of challenges can you expect rallying in Kenya?
Some of the challenges are varied. They're mainly driven by weather. I was over there in February. We were doing the initial route recce on some of the stages, not all of them. And there's places where we come to where the road's just gone. And the guys were explaining to me, you might be 100 miles from any mountain or whatever, or hills, but flash floods just appear out of nowhere, like almost like lightning, and they can just take a road out or create a huge divot in a road, and that may not be on the notes or it may not be on the system, so the competitors have
you
to
go there and the road's
deal with
completely
that.
different to what it was before.
And then flash rain can cause mud holes and all sorts of things where cars can simply get stuck. So there's a lot of that I think the key is to expect the unexpected and try to be ready for it. But you'll never probably be totally ready, So yeah, so that's the biggest challenge for the competitors is getting through it. Yeah. So
talk to me a little bit about the competitors, because as the Safari Rally was taken off the WRC calendar, the Classic Rally then came in to sort of restore that historic love for the event in the area.
Yeah.
Has there been a sort of change of competitors when the event changed? Or do you get similar people that are going back each time? Is it a lot of local drivers? Do you still have the international crews?
There are a lot of international crews who go back every year. There are some locals who participate every year, so it's a bit of a mix. And then there's probably a proportion of people who've always had it on their bucket list and get the opportunity to do it. So they would come in as well, new crews and all that sort of thing. So there's a really good mix, between regulars, newcomers and locals. Yeah.
And of course, we're recording this podcast at the moment. The rally isn't taking place until December this year.
Yeah.
But the reason that we're having this discussion so early is a bit of a call for any people that might have seen the East African Safari Classic Rally, have maybe had that sort of desire within them to give it a go. If there are any people that are listening to this that are ready for a new mammoth challenge within rallying, now's their time to get involved, isn't it?
Now's the time to get involved. It's a huge logistical exercise in terms of shipping and all of that. Now's the time to get involved. The entries close in around August, but there are opportunities there. There are companies, both local and international, who do arrive and drive deals. So even if a crew don't have a car for it, they can still hire one either locally or internationally for the event. So yeah, but for a lot of the competitors, it's on their bucket list to do it. But like everything in rallying, the age profile is getting older and older. The team want to get the rally onto the radar and onto the must-do list of the next generation and even the current generation of drivers, to get them involved and to get them to come and experience it. Someone pointed out to me last week, currently the M Sport WRC team, both their drivers, Gregoire Munster and Josh McElrain, have both recently competed on the event, and we would love to have more of the current drivers. Now we get these guys are flat out from one end of the year to the next with all their WRC commitments and all of that, but it would be great even that, not just those guys, but that generation, to get more of them come along and doing the rally and not leaving it until they're retired and all of that. But again, it's a financial challenge as well. But with the hiring and the arrive and drive elements, there are opportunities there for more and more people to do it, and we want to expand the global reach of the event. We can't really name too many of the competitors at the minute because the entry list's not published, but there's crews from the UK, from all over Europe, from Australia, from the US. It's a proper global international event, So yeah.
So for those of you that are listening that would like to even just look into the rally a little bit more, I will put some relevant links in the description boxes. You can have a click around, see what the event itself is about, look into how events in the past have been run. But if there is someone there that's got that little bit more in them, that little bit more motivation to go for it, you spoke about like the arrive and drive sort of setups. Who's the best person to talk to get involved in stuff like that?
Simply get in touch with the organisers through the website. There's a registration form, a registration of interest form on the website that they can do, and it may well be me that gets the email to go and talk to them to find out more about what they're looking for and to help them. But yeah, the entry fee includes all the accommodation on the event for the crew and the service team and all that type of thing. So it's a good package, and the rally as well for 2025 will be staying in some of the best hotels in Kenya. There's places like Taita Hills and all that where you get the wildlife walks right up to the outside the hotel rooms. It's just truly unique.
An incredible experience.
Incredible experience, yeah. So that's all part of it as well. It's not just the rally and the stages. It's all it's the whole environment.
Do the crews move around during the rally?
They do.
From place to place?
They do. The original plan was to take the event into Tanzania. The early days, the rally started in Kenya, went to Tanzania, then Uganda, and then back to Kenya. This year it's completely in Kenya. The plan was to go to Tanzania, but there are elections a few weeks before the rally, and that in itself creates, I suppose, personnel change and management change within that country. And any permissions etc. that you may have had, those people may longer be in authority and all that. So it was just there was too much doubt around guarantees about having the stages, etc. But the longer term plan is to take it, to spread it much further afield than just Kenya, because it's the East African safari, not the Kenyan, not just the Kenyan safari.
Going back to its roots.
But for this year, it'll start in Mombasa. First leg is in and around Mombasa. They go from there then on day 2 up to there's a place called Voi, and they do a couple of nights in Voi, and then they go further afield to another area called Amboseli, which is over closer to the border with Tanzania, in the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro, and do stages around there. then worked their way back again, back to Voi for a couple of nights, and then back to the finish in Mombasa. So yeah, it's about 3,500 kilometres total route, and about 65% of that's competitive distance as well. So it's the first year as well that the competitive distance has been over 2,000 kilometres in the history of the rally. So it's a massive challenge.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
As you're talking about that, I'm just having images in my head of these incredible cars going through the most vast landscapes. Like you can just, it's one of those events that you can sort of feel the energy of it just through the stories of people.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, like it was always, when Dad came back from a rally, it was always those sorts of stories that I was wanting, was the Africa stories and the animals that you might have seen and the landscapes that I could just never have dreamed of ever seeing. And when I was in my last year of secondary school, I actually went to Tanzania for 2 weeks on one of those little volunteer projects that everyone tends to do at the end of their school career. But for me, that was such a special trip because I was finally seeing landscapes that my dad had described to me, and I could really get a sense of what he might have even been close to experiencing doing those sorts of events. It's something so magical. What is it about the Safari Rally that you think captures people's imaginations?
I think it's rallying in general takes us out into places that are off the beaten track, that you would never think of going there, unless you're going on a specific tourism expedition, if you like. For me, for the safari, it's all of that. It's in particular the animals and the wildlife and the scenery. We were doing the route recce there in February and driving up through roads, and you have to stop because there's 3 or 4 giraffes just wandering across the road, and it's just like, wow, you just don't see that. Certainly not in Europe or any of the areas we're more accustomed with. There's challenges as well. There's one of the things that struck home for me, if we stop to get out and stretch our legs, you're halfway through a 130 kilometre stage, you take a break, and the guys said to me, when you get out, always check your surroundings. You could have snakes, you could have anything in the surround that we're not used to here, all that sort of stuff. So it's just a totally different environment, but it's beautiful. It's the scenery, it's the animals, all of that. The temperatures are really pleasant, So yeah, it's just such a unique environment. I think, is the attraction, and the Kenyan people as well, or any that I've met, are fantastic people, and they absolutely love rallying.
So you've mentioned the likes of the logistics and organising an event like this, which I really want to dig into a little bit later on. But for now, let's rewind it straight back and talk about Andy Gilmore and your love for rallying and where that all started. What got you to where you are now?
What got me? Probably like a lot of people in rallying, I blame my dad for dragging me out to rallies like the Circuit of Ireland from the age of 4 or 5 or whatever. One of my earliest memories is very distant, vague memories, is watching Billy Coleman in the Lancia Stratus in Donegal. I think I was 7 at the time.
Wow.
So just my early days, just going out spectating with family and friends and all that, and in those days when there was no internet, you were scouring the newspapers to try to find out where the rally was going to and all of that. And through work one day, a good friend of mine that I work with introduced me to some people who were into rallying and a local motor club to where I lived at the time, and went and saw them and got roped in to do a bit of navigating, and then encouraged to the club at the time, Rough Rider Motor Club, were just starting to organise rallies. This was back in the late 90s. It was a very small club at that time. I started to organise rallies and got involved on the admin side and then the safety side, and myself and a few others in the club, we created an event, our local event called the Down Rally over in Northern Ireland, and it first ran in 2005, so this year's the 20th anniversary of the first one.
Wow.
So that's an achievement in itself. So I clerked that for a lot of years up to recently. That was my first experience as a clerk of the course. I then got roped into being involved. Bobby Willis roped me into helping on the Circuit of Ireland. in around 2010 or 11. So I was involved there, was like an assistant and deputy clerk of the course in that when it went into what was the IRC,
Mm-hmm.
and then that became the ERC. So I clerked it in 2014.
Through some big changes.
Through some big changes, yeah. When it was it was the first year it was in the ERC, the year Esapeka Lappy won it.
Yeah.
I then did some work with Motorsport UK as a Motorsport UK safety delegate for a few years, and then one of the early events that I was safety delegate on was the first Rali Ceredigion. And after the first one of those ran in I think it was 2018 or 19, the guys there decided they wanted to make it an international rally.
Mm-hmm.
And as I happened to have an international clerk of the course license, they asked me would I clerk it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then those guys had the ambition to take it and build that rally as well into the ERC to where it is today, which is a brilliant event and a credit to the team that's there.
Yeah.
And then shortly after last year's Rali Ceredigion, I got a phone call to say that the Classic Safari were looking for a clerk of the course and would I be interested?
Mm-hmm.
And I think no matter what age you are or whatever, if you get offered a challenge, you've got to take it. And an event like that, it's a 9-day rally, I couldn't say no. It had to be. I have to go and try and see and
Yeah.
and have a go at it. So yeah, that's very short version of about 20-25 years involvement in rallying. Yeah. So.
And was that all sort of aside to a day job as well?
Yeah. I've worked in construction my whole career.
Mm-hmm.
So in building services, mechanical, heating, ventilating, air conditioning and all that sort of stuff, and in various roles, all whilst working on rallies and juggling family life as well.
Yeah.
A very understanding family helps as well, in fairness. So yeah.
Do you find that there's been sort of skills that you've been able to take from your work life to implement them into managing rallies on this scale?
Definitely, yeah. The role of the clerk of the course is wide and varied, but I suppose from a day job type role, it's a project management exercise as well as in many events a cost management exercise. So there's a lot of parallels between business life and running rallies at this scale, and managing people as well, working with people and with teams and all of that. It's a very important element. In any business, any rally is the same as any business. It's the people in it that make it successful. The clerk of the course role, it's like a figurehead role. It's a general management role, if you like, and it's bringing, I suppose, some experience and all that to the table, but it's all about the people who deliver the rallies. It's not the clerk of the course who delivers it on the ground. He or she will be in rally control or rally HQ, but it's the teams of people who really make the rallies happen.
You're doing everything you can before the ceremonial start gets underway, and then you leave it up to the team that you built around you.
It's up to the team to manage it. But yeah, it's rallying is quite unique because the Classic Safari runs once every 2 years. Most rallies run every year, but there aren't many sports who spend a whole year planning for an event, and in 1 or 2 or 3 days max, it's over.
Yeah.
In a lot of team sports like football and rugby and all of that, there's a game every week or every 2 weeks, and if there's something goes wrong, you can tweak it as you go.
Keeps the organisation fresh and
exactly,
on their toes.
Yeah. Whereas in rallying, it's once a year for a lot of clubs. Now, a lot of people go and help on other rallies, but if it's your own rally, it's once a year, and you have to wait a whole year before you can put into practice the things that you learned from the previous year. Do you know what I mean? So,
absolutely, yeah.
So that can be a challenge as well, and keeping people involved can be difficult, particularly younger people. There's so many other interests and all of that. So yeah. It
was quite interesting when I had Scunner sat on this sofa, and he was speaking about Ceredigion running last year, and he was like, you walked in to Rali Ceredigion, Rally HQ, and it looked like you'd gone back to Wales Rally GB. He was like, all of these familiar faces, people that he'd worked with when he was clerk of the course back on those events. But it is quite special that, as you say, people will come and go and work on different events, but it's the rally pulls the same people back every year.
It does indeed, yeah. And the bigger rallies tend to pull more people, but it's great. The support that Rali Ceredigion gets is fantastic. From all the senior senior people who've been involved in Wales Rally GB, but as well people in the local area. You know, there's guys there like Phil Pugh, Andrew Edwards, seriously experienced competitors, but their whole heart is in that rally. You know, it's just incredible what they've built it into in the space of 5 years.
It was such an incredible event last year.
Yeah.
I was there on behalf of the British Rally Championship. Obviously it was a round of the ERC as well, and just having that sort of buzz at a service park in the UK felt so special. And as I've said quite a few times in this podcast now, I was off in my own little world during the Wales Rally GB time. Like rallying wasn't part of my life really at that point, and it feels a real shame now that I'm so involved in the sport that I missed that. And walking around the Ceredigion service park, I was like, this is a taste of what that must have felt like. And for the people that did work on Rally GB back in the day, to see that again, it must be quite exciting.
Yeah, it is. It probably brings a lot of those people together that hadn't seen each other for a while. You know, it's a shame that the WRC isn't in the UK at the minute. I know there's talk about it coming to Scotland. I think that would be unreal, because in Scotland there's so many people have been involved with WRC, going back to the RAC days and all of that, and the fan base here is incredible as well. I think it would be unreal. I hope it happens.
I know. For a tiny little country, Scotland has so many motorsport connections. And you can't drive through a town without someone having a story about motorsport in one sense or the next. The forests up in Aberdeen are dying to be rallied in. It would be incredible. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for something like that to come.
Touch wood, the people that matter can make it happen.
Absolutely. So Rali Ceredigion this year, are you still COC for that?
I am indeed, yeah.
Fabulous. It's going to be a busy year for you.
I've had to kind of drop the down rally piece, but there's a fantastic team of people there as well, getting on.
Got 20 years of experience. They know what they're doing now.
Exactly, Holly. Yeah, absolutely. Right. They should know by now, and they do know. They're doing it. I'm not really involved with it. I'm on the end of the phone if I can be any help, and they're doing a great job with the plans for this year's rally. But Rali Ceredigion again, and in September. It's running a week later this year than previous years, to fall in with the WRC calendar, and then Kenya in December. So
fantastic.
Busy time,
So you said it was after Rali Ceredigion last year that you got the call about the East African Safari. Tell me how that went. Was it, you're the man for the job, what's it going to take to get you on board?
I found out a while afterwards it was our good friend Scunner who kind of recommended me to someone, so I have him to thank ultimately.
He's a man with all the connections.
He is indeed.
You'd love a scroll through his phone book, wouldn't you?
But it was a call simply to see, simply to sound me out. Would I be interested in speaking to the team who own the rally? It's a pretty unique setup with the rally. It's and it's gone through a number of different owners. The current owner, a guy called Joey Gose, who's an absolute rally fanatic businessman from Kenya, and has competed way back in the 80s on the original Safari rally himself. So he
some attachment to the
rally. He owns
rally.
the rally. Him and his family own the rally, and he wants it to keep building it into a globally attractive event, the must-do event for any rally competitor and enthusiast and all that. But so I was introduced to Joey and the team, and just discussed through what their requirements were, what I could bring to the table and all of that. And it's taken time. It's a learning experience for me as well, you know, learning the team and the people and all that type of thing. But it's great. It's I've been lucky, but I've found in rallying, wherever I've gone and worked on a rally, the team of people are just, because it's their local rally, they're so passionate. I feel
like any rally you go to as well, like, you know that everyone's at least got that one thing in common, that they love the sport, whether it's for the same reason as you or not. You've still got that in common, and you all want to make it work.
You do,
so that's really special. That you can go around the world and you've instantly got someone there that is familiar.
And it's a social scene as well. A lot of people, that's their social, all their friends are in the sport, or not all their friends, but a lot of their friends are in the sport and all that. So yeah.
I suppose for you it's a bit of a unique situation in that you were contacted about being clerk of the course about a year and a half before the rally was going to take place.
Yeah.
For most people that would mean that they could then go and attend the rally and see what it's like before taking over that role.
Yeah.
But as you've mentioned, with the Safari Classic running every 2 years, that's not been an option for you. So the first time you attend the rally will be on the job.
It will be on the job.
Talk to me a bit about that.
I was over there in February for just over a week, getting a feel for the roads and the stages and where Rally HQ, etc. is going to be, and the service areas that we're using. And go back again at the end of June for a couple of weeks to basically drive the rally, the whole thing, because it'll be ready by then in terms of all the road books and the route notes and all that type of thing. So that lets me see the complete event.
That'll be some trip
from the competitor's perspective, you know. So that'll be really important. Weather permitting, of course, that the roads between July and December are still there in December. But yeah, so that's the plan for it. So yeah, but it'll be very unique. We're also in the process of setting up regular meetings with the competitors as well. You know, prior to the rally, because a lot of events that I've been involved with prior, you open the entries, the competitors enter. There's times I don't even see or hear 99% of the competitors because I'm stuck in rally control, but we want to take the approach where the competitors are part of the team. It's not a them and us situation, so we want to build up the relationship with the competitors as well, because it's a massive commitment from them to come and do this event, you know. And some of them are new to the rally as well, so they have a lot of learning to do. So the more help that we can give them to make their life easier in the run up, the better. So yeah, all of that's going on. So I don't want it to be a case of I land in Kenya 4 days before the rally, totally unaware of who the competitors are, where we're going, all that. I can't do that. It's just not how I work. It can't be fly in the day before the rally and be the clerk and fly out again. You need to be fully involved, as involved as possible. You know, I
suppose the more experience you have before the event, and the more you are involved in the organisation and the planning.
Yeah.
Of course, then the more you want to make it succeed. It's like having ownership over it. It's something that you've worked really hard on and put a lot of your time and effort into.
Absolutely, you're vested in it, and I suppose you put your name to it. You want it to be the best rally it can be, you know. And I've been lucky on the Down Rally, the Circuit of Ireland, Rali Ceredigion. Everybody involved wants the event to be the best possible event that it could be. You know, it's not just it's another rally to deal with. It's the people are really, really, really into it. You know, but on all of those events, there's regular meetings. Sometimes there's 3 meetings per week. You know, other times there's 1 per week or whatever. But there's at least 1 meeting every week on the events to keep everything fresh and to deal with everything that needs to be dealt with and planned for. Yeah.
And on the Kenya side, is the organisation much the same as what it would have been for rallies in the past? Do the same people tend to stick around to help with the organisation, or has that changed quite a bit as well?
I believe it's changed because I wasn't involved previously.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to know a lot of the team now. Some of them I think work on the WRC event in Kenya. You know, it's kind of probably like everywhere else, even in the UK or in Ireland. If you go to rallies regularly, quite a few of the people are the same people going to help other clubs and all of that. So there's probably a community within Kenya who help on a lot of the rallies. You know, a lot of the Equatorial Classic rallies on this weekend, and a lot of the team who are involved in the Classic Safari are over at that event helping and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a big community, and I think hopefully they all work together. yeah. And
how special as well that the current owner of that event competed in it back in the day as well. That's so special, and it's clear how important that part of his life has been for him to then go on to want to make it as good as it possibly can be.
It is. He's competing on this year's Classic Safari as well.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
He's kind of removed from the organisational side for that very reason. You know, he doesn't know where the stages are. We have to keep it away from him. You know, he knows where the route is going, the same as everyone else has been told to date. But yeah, so he's planning on competing again this year, so in the Classic. So yeah, he's a total enthusiast and really has the rally at heart. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about when the crews do arrive in Kenya. There's not a recce, is that correct, for the rally? It's like the good old days.
Yeah.
So you're just sort of in at the deep end and going straight for it.
Yeah.
So they'll get a road book, some maps. How does that work? What will they get provided with?
The way that it works, on the event, the night before each leg, they get provided with the maps.
Okay.
And road books. But for this year, the road books will be more detailed. There'll be more information. Some of the feedback that we got from the previous event was the road book, the old style road book, is like tulip diagrams where you've got a tulip telling you this T junction, turn right, and you'd have nothing for 3 kilometres until the next T junction or the next hairpin or whatever. And some of the feedback was that, flip me, there's a lot of stuff in there that we're driving blind, and particularly in these areas where these flash floods hit, you know, the road could just have a 6-foot drop out of nowhere, and we're working hard on that. So the notes for the 25 rally will be much more detailed. You know, there will always be a cross between full-blown safety notes and road book, you know, to give the crews more information on particularly on hazards and things like that, where we feel they need to know. So yeah, and there's a serious amount of work going into that at the minute over the next 2 months, and that's when I'll be going out to drive in July for checking all of those and all that. So yeah, so they get those the night before each leg, so they don't know. They know where the start and the finish are for each leg. They know that already because we published a first draft itinerary last week, but they don't know where the stages are going until the night before.
What a challenge.
And that's part of the adventure, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, yeah.
And another thing that harks back to the safari rallies of the past, the roads aren't closed, is that correct?
Again, this year, 30% of them are on private land. The Kenyan government's working really hard to develop a lot of the road networks in Kenya. In some ways, that's not a good thing for the rally because they're tarmacking a lot of the roads.
So, no, this can't be.
But in fairness, they're improving the area. And once a road's tarmac, it can no longer be used for the rally. It's a gravel rally and all of that. But 70% of the roads this year will be what are called open roads. But before I committed to the role, I had a big long conversation with John Coyne. John's heavily involved in the Motorsport Ireland Academy and all of that, and he did the rally in 23 along with Josh.
Yeah.
And I asked him, you know, about the rallying on open roads, and because here you just wouldn't dream of it.
It is a bit madness, isn't it?
You would be jailed, you know. But John explained to me, he said, Andy, you'll see for yourself and make up your own mind, but a lot of what's called open roads over there, no one lives there. You know, you're out in the wilderness. You know, there's no cars on the road, there's no traffic or people on the road. Yeah. And you go for 3 hours and see absolutely no one. So
it's not like a stage on the way up to Tesco.
No, it's not. So it's kind of different open roads. But yeah, the roads are still open. There's a chance you'll meet some guy or maybe 3 guys coming at you on a motorbike, you know, around some corner, but that's something the competitors have to be ready for and have to deal with, and it's another element, should we say, to the event. But that's how it's been in Kenya for decades, you know.
It's another draw to it, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's all part of the whole thing, yeah. A lot more of it this year, though, is on private farms and things like that, and conservancies, which are really, really good from a perspective of the roads are fully closed. So the competitors know that the road's fully closed on those stages. They will be told, you know.
They can go for it.
They can go for it, yeah. Go at 11/10 rather than 10, so yeah.
Well, you mentioned John Coyne's name there.
Yeah.
And we'll just sort of pick up on that for a little bit, because it was a conversation with John that introduced the Safari Classic Rally to me on my radar.
Okay.
I think we mentioned very, very briefly on a call prior to this, But we're going back to Barham Rally 2023, and I was there with my Gramps, supporting Max, doing his rallying, and we were staying in the same hotel as John Coyne and lots of the Motorsport Ireland people. And after the rally had finished, Gramps and I walked back into the hotel. John was there with Josh, with Fuzzy, and we sat down with them, had a drink or two, and they started, I don't know how we got onto the conversation with it. I think it was something to do with the Tuttle Porsches.
Yes.
And Gramps had said just how iconic they are and what an experience it would be to rally in Africa in that sort of car.
Yeah.
And that's when John let slip that him and Josh were going to give it a go, which was incredible. And until that point, I wasn't really aware that rallying in that format was still going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know that the Safari Rally happens in the WRC calendar, but not to like this epic scale.
Yeah.
And it was just an incredible conversation, and these guys talking about this mad adventure that they were going to go on together. And in the planning, just before we were speaking about recording this podcast, Andy actually got in touch and said, do you think that Jimmy would want to do it? Because in episode 1 of Drive, when I was sat down with my Gramps, he did say that's the one rally that still captures his imagination.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's branding himself as a bit too past it for that sort of motorsport adventure now, but it would be quite something, wouldn't it?
It would, and I maybe said this to you already. Tell him, you know, there is an entry in from a competitor in his 80s. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're never too old.
Such an epic undertaking.
Yeah.
And something that, as you say, you do have lots of elderly drivers that have maybe done their competitive career but still want to take on these big challenges.
Yeah.
How do you get younger people involved? How do you go about bringing that age bracket down?
For me, probably the first step is getting younger people to push the news of the rally, like yourself, to push the news of the rally out there into the wider world and into the sphere where the younger people operate in.
Yeah.
You know, the social media channels, all of that. Because it's easy just to keep going and keep this private thing where it's almost like exclusive and all of that. But that has a time limit. Okay, it might last for another 5 years or 10 years, but unless you're bringing new people in, and it applies to rallying in general, not just the classic safari, but younger people need to be made aware of the event first and foremost, and then tell them about the history of it and the challenge that it is. And the more that there's people like your granddad, John, all these people who have done the rally, even the younger generation. Like I was chatting with Josh, I think it was at the Motorsport Ireland Awards in December, and it was a few days before his deal with M Sport was announced. He never mentioned the deal with M Sport or even that it was in the offing. All he wanted to talk about was the classic safari for about 20 minutes. Nothing else mattered. So, and if that enthusiasm's there among the people who know about it, how would it not grow with the younger generation when they find out about it? So I think that the role of the event is as much to promote the event to the younger generations and the current generation of drivers and crews and co-drivers and all of that to get the word out there.
Make them aware that it's there and it's happening, and they're more than welcome to come and join.
Yeah, and it's possible. Yeah.
That is something that John Coyne and the Motorsport Ireland crew are amazing at, is giving these young people the opportunities to do things that they could have only looked at in the past and dreamed about it. Yeah,
like on Rali Ceredigion last year, on the international rally, like Motorsport Ireland Academy and Motorsport Ireland licence holders made up, I think, about 30% of the entry.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a fantastic commitment, first of all, but great that they're coming across and doing it. The whole drive there is fantastic, you know, and it's as you say, there's young drivers and co-drivers there now doing things they probably only could ever dreamt of doing, and that many before them only ever dreamt of doing. So yeah, it's fantastic, and they're demonstrating that the pathway is there all the way from the bottom, not the bottom, but from the starting point to the very, very top. Yeah, and it's fantastic, and a credit to them all for what they're doing. So yeah.
So if you are listening and you're interested in giving it a go go for a little look in those links in the description.
Yeah.
Have a little sense. Because what did you say? You get your hotels included as well in
your
your entry
hotels are
price?
included, yeah.
Fantastic
You've
deal.
got to get yourself to Kenya just and enjoy it after that.
Wow.
From you arrive until you head off again, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a unique rallying experience in that sense.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go for a little pause right there because I do have some quickfire questions for you.
Okay.
Now, this is something that I do in each episode of my podcast, slightly different questions depending on who's on the sofa.
Okay.
But the first one is always the same.
Okay.
And it is, what has been the most memorable rally of your career?
I would say the Circuit of Ireland 2014. Yeah.
What about that event makes it so special?
It was my first time as an international clerk of the course. It was the circuit getting back into the ERC, and the buzz around it was incredible, as well as the team of people that were there were just incredible. So yeah.
Well, my second one might provide the same answer.
Okay.
Proudest COC moment. Would it be from that event, or is there one from another rally that sticks out just that little bit more?
It's probably that one and any one of the rally. Well, last year's Rali Ceredigion as well. Again, first time for that event in the ERC, and we delivered it every stage, ran to the minute. Despite of many challenges, every stage started on time, which is a big undertaking, and even compared to 2014, it's funny how they were 10 years apart, but there was no live TV, I don't think, in 2014. Certainly not every stage being shown live.
Yeah.
So that brings Mr. Campbell and his team bring added pressure. So yeah,
looming over you somewhere.
Yeah, he's out there somewhere. Yeah. So no, that was a again, and I was proud, not for me, but for the whole team who delivered it. Yeah.
For such a young event to then host so many international drivers and for it to go faultlessly is incredible.
Yeah, it was a fantastic achievement, and yeah.
Next one here, what is an event that you would love to work on? Is there anything still on the horizon?
I don't know, perhaps if a WRC event ever came to UK or Ireland. I haven't really worked on a World Championship event, so that's, I would love to do that. So yeah.
I feel like being at the top of the table for something like the Safari Classic will give you more than enough bargaining power to say, look, I've managed this.
Yeah.
I can get on board with this too.
Yeah. Totally different place. Yeah.
Well, watch this space.
Okay, well, who knows? Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Next one here. What's the most challenging event that you've worked on?
Possibly the first Rali Ceredigion that I clerked. There were just so many incidents and things that happened, and it's very. It's once a rally takes off, it's like a train setting off from the station. We're not really in control of it. All we can do is react to whatever happens and be ready to react. That event was really challenging. I think from the get-go on the Friday night, Keith Cronin had a monumental crash. Thankfully, neither him or the co-driver were hurt, but and that set the tone for the weekend. It created a 1 hour delay and all of that, and the whole thing. It was a very challenging rally, but the team got there, and there was a serious amount of learning done for all of us, which helped us.
It's like putting one brick down, and the rest of it's all just a bit skew with.
Yeah. So that was probably my most challenging one.
What is something that you hope to achieve in 2025?
That, first of all, completely safe rallies. Everyone goes home in the same shape that they went to the rally. Cars can be repaired, but for good, safe rallies. Internally, we've set ourselves a challenge on the Safari Classic. I'm told that no Safari Classic has had every stage run.
Okay.
There's been stages lost. Now, some of that's down to weather. You're in the lap of the gods, but that's a challenge we're aiming for, that every stage runs.
Next one here, something slightly different. What is an experience still on your motorsport bucket list? In any sort of capacity?
to go and watch the Indy 500.
Ooh, nice.
That's probably well up the list. Yeah, top of the list. I'm told it's there's something like 250,000 spectators on race day, and to go and just be there in the midst of like 250,000 people.
Can't even fathom that amount of a crowd.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and these cars going past at over 200 miles per hour. So yeah, I want to go and see that.
I'd say that's a pretty good one for the bucket list.
Yeah.
And last one here, who is someone that you'd like to see on the podcast in the future?
Oh, is this like a nominating someone type of question or
absolutely. It'll get on my list and I'll do some messaging.
Mr. Phil Pugh.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Phil has a vast amount of experience and hundreds of much more exciting stories and more interesting stories, I'm sure, than I could ever tell you. So yeah, Phil.
Any stories in particular we need to eke out of him?
No, he's just full of stories and experiences.
I won't need to do any eking, they'll just flow out.
They'll just fly out, I would imagine, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, as we've discussed over the duration of this podcast, you've got some incredible motorsport experiences. You've got a reputation of taking an event and turning it into something even more magical than it was before. How do you hope that your personal skills from the years behind you can get put into the Safari Classic? What would be a sort of step forward, a progression that's made in the rally's history that comes down to Andy?
I know, run the best rally we can, run it on time, and run it calmly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as safely as we possibly can.
Pretty impressive checklist.
Not that anyone goes out not to run a rally safely or whatever, but just always have safety. Safety comes first, and then run to schedule, because so many people, both involved with the rally and beyond the rally, are influenced if it doesn't run to schedule. Mm-hmm. You know,
there's a lot at stake.
So many stakeholders. Yeah. So,
and is the Safari Classic an event to event sort of situation, or has there been discussions about events going forward? Would it be a one-time thing, or might you be on the list for a long time?
I'm there for 25. Mm-hmm. I'm aiming to be there longer term, certainly, and we're already talking about plans for the 27 event. So yeah, that's and it'll evolve.
Yeah.
You know, so no one knows how long they're anywhere for, in fairness. So yeah, I just take each event as it comes, and but yeah, it would be, for me, there's going to be a lot of learning, and being involved with an event from one year to the next, that's where you benefit from the learning. Yeah. You know,
absolutely.
For me and the team and all of that. So the plan is that it's long term.
You go in with a decent foundation to then build on, rather than starting a scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but we're already starting about, as I say, to talk about 27 and where we need the event to go and want the event to go, and we're a lot of people locally and are involved with the rally and compete on the rally want it to go as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Well,
thank you for your time coming and sharing stories of the Safari Classic, of your own career. It's been brilliant sitting and talking to you.
Okay, Holly, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really grateful. Yeah. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about all the rallies. It's I can happily spend all day talking about rallies. So yeah, so thank you.
And also, as I've mentioned a couple times throughout the podcast, I will leave any relevant links in the description boxes. So if your curiosity's been piqued, go for a little look in the description box. Have a look at what the rally has in store, and hopefully this is something that we can talk about on and off until the event runs itself, and maybe when that entry list comes out we can speak a little bit about the people that are going to be taking on the challenge this year.
Absolutely.
There's plenty more to come between now and December, so thank you, Andy.
Thank you
for listening.